you talked about like having a clock in his head, but is Streeter or somebody just constantly saying get rid of it? I mean, is there a time limit on how long they have in the pocket?
Yeah, I mean, I think each concept, whether it's drop back, quick game, play action, I mean, everything has a timing to it. It's pretty obvious when you're out here on the field and you go back and watch video, it's pretty obvious when the ball needs to come out, whether it's late or whether it's on time. And if you're late at all, it shows really quick. And so those guys have to have a sense for that and to be able to be on time with everything that we do. So that's definitely something those guys are conscious of and being coached on.
You mentioned you were disappointed in some things you saw from the offense today. As far as yesterday, was it a win for the offense yesterday? I heard Wayne Gallman had a 99-yard touchdown run. Would you say it was a good day for the offense yesterday?
Yeah, average. We did some good things. We had some good long runs coming off the goal line, but then we had some procedure penalties coming off the goal line. And you're never satisfied as a coach unless you're doing everything right. And there's not many of those days out here in fall camp. I felt yesterday I thought we did a better job up front and not as consistent in the passing game. We had 9 drop balls yesterday, so that's really what sticks out for me in yesterday. And then today we threw it and caught it a little bit better, but weren't as good up front. And so that's kind of what your challenge is, the guys, is hey, we need to be at our best in all areas, not just up front one day and then on the skill perimeter the next day. We got to put it all together, and that's what this process is all about, and grind it through that every day.
Talk about Justin Fastanelli stepping in for Jake Guillermo right now. What are you seeing out of Justin?
It's still inconsistent. That's our big challenge. We feel like we've got good depth, but they've got to earn that opportunity to be able to go out there if Jay's not in there. And that's the silver lining of Jay being held out a little bit these last few days is to put Jay and those other guys, put Fastanelli and those other guys in that situation, see how they do. At times yesterday, he did a really good job at some things coming off the goal line, and we got to go back and watch the video today. It just didn't seem like we were quite as consistent up there. But as far as the snaps and all that's a lot better, but not quite executing at the level that we want to be at.
Yesterday being the first 2 a day, were you pleased with how the team handled that on a hot day?
No, because I said we had 9 drop balls, and I think a lot of those drops came from guys getting a little hot, getting tired, feeling sorry for themselves, not quite having that edge and concentration that we need. So that's something that we're reminding these guys. We got to push them outside their comfort zone. You're not going to grow as much if you're just out here in your comfort zone. You got to find those last few reps, those last few periods is when you got to be able to be at your best. We talk all the time about finish with no regrets. So that's something we can measure is how are we practicing at the end of practice compared to how we practice at the beginning of practice. And that's something we're still working on.
What are you hoping to see from the offense tomorrow during the situational scrimmage?
Yeah, I'm hoping to see us respond from some of the things that we've been disappointed with the last few days. I'm looking for, first of all, a group of guys to go out there and be able to line up and execute with no procedure penalties. Then the next thing is being able to execute in our short yardage, running the ball, being able to communicate up front with, if Jay's out tomorrow, Justin and those other guys being able to communicate and direct traffic with the offensive line, and then being able to make plays on the perimeter. Obviously, Deshaun, but really that next group of quarterbacks, how they do, and then really all of the wide receivers. They should be a dominant group every time they step on the field. That's our expectation. And, it's one thing to talk about, it's another thing to go do it. It's one thing to be out here in a practice field setting with coaches on the field and everybody coaching, and it's another thing get everybody on the sideline, put the guys in the stadium, and, be able to go execute and produce. So that's what we're most looking forward to tomorrow.
Will you start to pare things down after this week, after Saturday scrimmage?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit unique. I think we still have 2 weeks. Maybe some years we only have maybe a week and a half after school starts. I think this year we may have a little bit more time, but we already have it set up when we'll start game planning and getting ready. Right now we have a lot more in the offense than we'll have whenever we go play Auburn. And this time of year we're preparing for the season. We're not just preparing for one game, we're preparing for the season. And we get about two weeks out there from that opener, and that's where we'll really get specific in our game plan and really hone in on that. But right now we're throwing a lot at them and preparing for the whole year.
Other than obviously Deshaun is a guy that people gravitate to, but who's some other guys you've noticed in camp so far where the players are kind of gravitating towards those leaders?
I think Wayne Gallman is a guy that's really stepped up in a leadership role. Jay Guillermo, I put Jay and Wayne and Deshaun kind of as those top three leaders. And then there's times with Jordan Leggett and guys like Taven Scott and Mike Williams, kind of that next group. But I've really been pleased with Wayne Gallman and him emerging as a leader.
Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing to cross-train Dion to maybe get him on the field more?
Yeah, that's one thing we really challenge all those guys to do is to move around and cross-train. Dion and Trevion will move back and forth between the 9-man and 5-man positions. Taven Scott can move inside, Hunter Renfro can move outside. So that's the big thing, and really with those guys being here an extra year, it really allows them to kind of take it to the next level, not just learn their position, but understand the big concept where they could go in and play a number of different positions. And to be honest, they want to do that because they know if they're going to have an opportunity to play at the next level, usually that fourth NFL receiver, he's got to know all three spots because they're not carrying 6 and 7 guys. So, a lot of those guys are coming to us and they want to have an opportunity to play different spots and move around. But, Dion is a guy that has been doing really well, and he's a guy that we can move around, play different spots along with playing in the boundary there, along with Mike.
Does Mike strike you as someone, when you've seen him now for the last week and a half, as somebody who's been out of football for a year?
No.
Is he better than you've seen him?
I feel like he's at his best right now. He's been really good in the past. Last year, fall camp, I felt like he was really good. I felt like he was in a position last year at fall camp that he was going to go have a big year and probably have an easy decision to make as far as moving on to the next level because where he put himself, and now he's stronger. You can tell things that we've always really been harping on Mike is being fast and physical off the line and using his size and his releases and not letting guys push him around and widen him on his releases, and he's doing excellent. Very pleased with where he is. He's made plays, been very consistent, and I think he'll continue to work. He's got a great mindset right now, great focus, but shown no signs whatsoever of being rusty from not playing since last fall.
How does he do that? I mean, that's not a typical injury.
Yeah. I think the deal with his injury, it's something that's really not lingering. According to what the doctors have said, once it's healed, it's as if nothing has ever happened whatsoever. So then it becomes a mental thing. I think when he got out there this spring, and even though we didn't let him tackle him and all that, he had some pretty physical one-on-one reps every day in practice, and in pass scale, got knocked around, fell down, rolled around, all kind of different ways. And so I think he's been very confident, but to be honest, he looks like he's picked up right where he left off last year, and I think probably ahead of where he was last year. But I put that on him, and the way he prepared last year, why he was out, he didn't just sit on the sidelines and not think about football. I think he really used that opportunity to learn, and I think it made him hungry for his opportunity that he has now to be back.
At last fall camp, he spoke of trying to be even better than Sammy, better than Nuke. I mean, those are lofty names. Do you look at him in this fall camp and see someone who could top those guys?
I think he has potential to be as good as any guy that we've had here. I think he definitely has potential to be in that group and in that conversation. It's hard because it's been a few years since those guys have been here, but he's made some plays in practice that remind us of some of those guys whenever they were here. So there's no doubt about it. We see him in that same light.
What kind of progression have you seen from your ex-coach?
Yeah, I've seen a big change in Ray Ram. He's one of the guys I'm most pleased with. He was a talented guy as a freshman, but had a lot to learn about the position. He's got to be a technician out there playing in that 2-man. He gets a lot of press coverage, so just learning his releases and his depths and all the little details. I think this year he's worked on that. He's a lot more disciplined in everything that he's doing, and he's a technician. He just goes to work, lot more mature than last year. I've seen a big difference in him, and I think what I've seen in the meeting room and what I've heard about this summer, the way he worked this spring, I'm seeing that translate into his success on the practice field. So I'm really excited about Ray for this fall.
What does that do for Taven and sort of pushing him?
Yeah, I think it's good. And Artavis is a guy that naturally pushes himself. He's a guy that comes out with a good work ethic, good attitude every day. I think, Artavis has had a good impact on Ray, but there's no doubt those guys compete. Whenever Ray goes out and makes a big play, Artavis is wanting to go in and make even a better play. So those are the guys that have a great relationship, and they love to compete against each other. And it's just going to make our group and our offense better. The better that group behind those starters, the more they improve every day.
How would you rate when you were recruiting Taven, his hands, his ball skills, catching the football?
Watching him in high school, they put him out all the way to the field on the far hash, all the way outside, and threw him deep balls 50 yards down the field like a receiver. And he had really good hands in high school, and that's one thing that we're really excited about him. I think to look back at guys like CJ and Andre Ellington, some of those guys that were a good threat coming out of the backfield and passing game, adds a whole nother element. And that's one thing that I think Taven will definitely be able to add in the future.
He had over 20 receiving touchdowns in his career. I think over 100 catches, almost 2,000 yards. That's obviously not normal numbers for a running back, and yet he still also had the same numbers as a running back. That's something you don't see too much, though, coming out of high school into college, a kid that dynamic, right?
Now that you say that, I may need to move into wide receiver. Pretty impressive right there. No, I think the coaches there, Chris Miller and Rick Scott at Spartanburg High School did a great job of using him. Moved him all over the field and gave him opportunities to go make plays, and that's what the great players do. No matter where they put him, they go out and make plays. But I think it was good for Taven. He's starting right now, obviously, just kind of at square one at the running back position. Really has to learn from the very beginning, the foundation. Coach Elliott's done a great job with him, teaching him protections, and all the running game fits and timing and all that. But as his knowledge grows, he'll be able to start getting more involved in the passing game, and is definitely unique for someone. I think he had a lot more experience catching the ball than your typical high school running back, maybe just a couple flares or flat routes. He really did a lot, and that'll hopefully allow us in the future to be able to line him up and line up in some empty sets and treat him like a regular receiver and cause a little conflict for the defense.
Yeah, I was going to say that's going to be some fun when you guys get to start using them in the whole package, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a long way from where we are right now.
Yeah.
Right now we're just wanting to line up and learn how to run the zone, but there's no doubt that that's something that we'll definitely be looking to in the future as his role increases.
You've seen some progress from the freshman receivers for the first week.
I have. I'll tell you what, Cornell Powell got called out in front of the whole team. Coach Sweeney's done a good job of kind of stopping practice at times and putting guys in one-on-one situation in front of the whole team. And Cornell went out there against one of our starting defensive backs and ran a great route and completed a deep ball. And I think that was good for him, confidence for him to be able to do that in front of the entire team, and also rewarding for the work that they put in. I've been really pleased. I kind of teased Mike Williams that DeAndre Overton is maybe a little bit ahead of where Mike was when he came in as a freshman, and so that's something that we kind of consistent theme we've been talking about in the meeting rooms. And then TJ Chase, great feet, very quick, great toughness. And obviously we're just kind of about not even halfway through fall camp, but I haven't seen those guys really take a step back, and that's usually what you see from those young skill guys. The install starts getting heavy on them, and all of a sudden they start slowing down, but they haven't backed up yet. And give them a lot of credit, and then also give the older guys a lot of credit for bringing them along. They did a great job teaching them this summer during skills and drills while the coaches are not allowed to be out there.
All good?